We're the United States of America. Unity and oneness is what we're made of. One nation under God, it's plain to see. We're showing the whole world what a country should be. United we stand in America, hand in hand in America. Together as one in a land that we love. United we stand in America.
Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. It is Wednesday, March 25th. This is show number 286. I am Lynn Morris. We are live at the Axe Media Group headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. It is going to be a beautiful day in the mid-60s today and continue to get a little warmer as we go along. I think we have hit springtime today. And as you see, Dr. Mary Byrne was here last week, and we really enjoyed her presence, and she's now back up in Jefferson City today, hopefully working with the Senate primarily, but the House too, in changing our education system in the state of Missouri. And so that would be a good thing too, to make our education system better and more functional and more local. So today we have got a great show lined up. We're going to do part two of a show that was very popular. We had a lot of people that really enjoyed our show, and I think we created more questions. So I've got two guests. I've got one that you see here. I'm going to introduce him in just a second, and then we have one that's we're zooming in today from Camden County. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the presiding commissioner of Camden County. That's at the Lake of the Ozarks, in beautiful Lake of the Ozarks area in Missouri. And that is Ike Skelton. Ike, how are you doing today?
Good morning, Lynn. I'm doing very well. You're right. It's a beautiful day here at Lake of the Ozarks, and I think they're getting boats out of storage and out of winter stabilization. I hear little rumblings out on the water.
Oh, I tell you what, it'd be a good day to fish, be a good day to go boating. Anything that you want to do outside today would probably be a good day. So you've been presiding commissioner how long?
This is my first term. I'm in my fourth year.
Okay, well, this is still my first term, but this is my last year and first term. But hey, I really appreciate you and knowing you, and we're going to talk about your situation, what you're seeing in Camden County, and now the other guest that we have today that people are also seeing is in studio, and that's Ron Sanders. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm doing pretty good, Lynn. I'm here to talk a little bit more about flock, and there's even a new update that we'll be talking
Okay.
about.
Well, good. I tell you what, I'm excited. These two gentlemen know a lot about flock cameras, license plate cameras. My opinion is they're good and bad. Got to watch out for all the bad things that can happen as this country is just continually changing. I think the show that Jim Whining and I created over 5 years ago here, and we called it Changing Times. We are in the midst of the most changing times that this world has ever seen. Some of it is good, some of it is bad. And so I think we hit the right show. And I don't know. Hey, Dennis, can they see Betsy in the chair?
She's too far down.
Okay, we've got a stray cat that adopted Axe Ministry and adopted Dennis, and we thought it was a female cat, and so we named it Betsy. And then Dennis took it to the vet to check it out, make sure it was okay, and lo and behold, it's a boy. But we haven't changed the name. So this is kind of like the boy named Sue. This is the cat named Betsy. And so he is laying there on the chair where Dr. Mary usually sits. Okay, so we're gonna talk about flock cameras, and then I will at the end. I kind of changed my format. I'm going to talk about Easter. I want to talk about Easter, the most important event in Christianity is coming up, and we've got a special show next week, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the show, and make sure people realize how important that show will be next week. All right, but Ron, let's talk. We had some questions that were still left over, and I'm gonna kind of start that out, and then we've got some new information. You studied some information about contracts and things like that because you're continually, this is what citizens should do. Okay, Ron is a citizen who has been involved in what's going on in government, especially local government, for quite some time, and he takes the initiative to investigate, do the research, go to meetings, hold meetings, and hold people accountable. So I like that. Here's the first question. What's the constitutional difference between a license plate reader on a public highway and the one that's placed at the only access uh, road to a shooting range or a church?
There you go. That's the question that I wanted to answer today. Um, the purpose. What is the purpose of the license plate reader? The police and law enforcement agencies, they're always talking about, hey, we want to be able to catch bad guys that we already have probable cause to catch. We got stolen vehicles, we have kidnapped victims, we have pedophiles out there that are only supposed to be away from schools and stuff like that. So now we find out that in my area, there's an unmanned state park that has a shooting range. And now they have a flock camera right there where you go to the shooting range. Now it's not on the main road where you come down and there's an area where the horses load and unload at the trailhead. It's only at the access for the shooting range. And it makes you wonder why. And it would be the same if they put a flock camera right next to the entrance to a church. Are we going to start tracking who goes to church? And the government's not really allowed to do that. But why not have a proxy private organization do that you can then go and buy the information from? You make them rich and you get a gun registry for everybody in Southwest Missouri that uses this state park's shooting range. And if it doesn't go unchallenged, or if it goes unchallenged, they'll start putting these flock cameras at every single shooting range. And next thing you know, Flock, the company, will have license plates and names of everybody who takes their firearms to shooting ranges, which could be a good thing because then we know people are practicing. And maybe that would be a deterrent for tyrants. And I see Ike shaking his head. That's tongue in cheek, by the way. But you have them producing a gun registry as a private company that can be sold right back to the government to try to get around that constitutional restriction. And, the road to hell is always paved with good intentions, but where does it end? And a constitutional challenge could ruin the legitimate use of the license plate readers for law enforcement, by overstepping their bounds. And I know that Ike will probably have some, counter arguments to this, but uh, this is the one thing that could destroy the use of them altogether.
Yeah.
Find them
Hey, Ike. What?
unconstitutional.
Just quickly, what do you think of what Ron just said?
Well, he's absolutely right about the constitutional difference because I don't believe a sheriff or a law enforcement agency could put those things out there on their own and operate them as they are. And the big difference between in front of the private company having it versus the government, the private company, the worst they can do is sell your information to somebody else, which isn't good. But the government can take action against you for various different reasons. And, I want to think that there are only best intentions when it comes to these things, but I know that there are evil actors in government all over the place. and they're going to use these for nefarious reasons. And it's already been done. I mean, the breach of trust has already been had with these cameras all over the country. Most recently, right here in Joplin, Missouri, and that investigation has now been, I think, 60 days or better. And the people that are paying attention to the citizens with D. Flock Joplin that are paying attention to that situation still have no information from the Highway Patrol as to what actually occurred. I have sent out a sunshine request for a lot of things, and I'll be looking to get that back. There are legitimate reasons. There can be legitimate reasons. These cameras work very effectively, and I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, this could spread to many, many things. I mean, we all have guns, and in fact, I know all about Busey Park, and Ron's exactly right. There's a place for people to walk like me and my family, my grandkids. We walk down there and in certain places, but they've got the gun range when you go in to the right and it's away from everybody. You don't want stray bullets going and hitting people. And so it's quite a ways away from where the horses, where they ride horses or where they walk. But you know, what about then they could even target people to go to church, certain types of churches if they don't like certain
Sure.
types of churches or they don't like Christians that go to church. I mean, I mean this thing could spread and so I'm really glad that people like you guys will do sunshine requests, and then if we need to actually make sure, because I'm not even sure if our law enforcement in Christian County, where Ron and I live, I'm not even sure if the sheriff knows what the conservation department's done. I'm not really sure why the conservation department did that, who told them to do that. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions about that, and that's why I'm glad I've got you two guys on. You want to talk about the next question?
Oh yeah.
Or, okay, let's talk about it. If the government records every vehicle entering a shooting range or a church, is that effectively creating a list of people uh, exercising their First or Second Amendment rights? So we're kind of, yeah. So what's that going to look like when we start this investigation? What do you think the courts will say?
Well, a couple years ago, the FBI labeled Christians and churches to a certain degree as possible domestic threats, domestic terrorists. And they started sending agents in to churches, to services, and trying to infiltrate, those areas. Now all they have to do is set up a camera, outside the parking lot. Now they can very easily collect all the information of everybody going to and from those services. And with the network of cameras, they can say, okay, these people are going to church. They're also going to the gun range. They must be a part of this domestic terrorist militia, or maybe they're developing an idea. And they could start putting things together that aren't even in existence and weaponize something against legitimate, good people like we've seen in the past 5 years happen, you know, and it's very dangerous because now law enforcement doesn't actually have to be out there. It's an innocuous camera that most people are like, thank you, government, for making sure I'm protected. You wouldn't believe the pushback I get whenever I critique these things or whenever I bring out information. And the one thing leading to the next question is Flock gets to have access to this information in perpetuity, and and you can't take it away. You can't take that access away from them during the contract period.
And I guess law enforcement, I guess there's nothing, you've been starting to study contracts. I guess there's nothing in that contract that keeps them from selling information to someone else, either to the government or whoever. And then they don't have to notify law enforcement that they sold that information, do they? So we would never know who that information goes to. Is that correct?
That is correct. They've put it in their contracts that it's irrevocable. So the agency that signs the contract, and all three contracts, the Christian County Sheriff, the City of Ozark, and the City of Nixa, all have the same language in their contract where it's irrevocable. The police can turn off the camera, their access to the cameras, but Flock will get to keep those cameras in those locations until the contract is up. And they get access to all the information. They call it metadata, but they're using that data to develop what they call vehicle fingerprints. So they're getting way more information than just that little license plate. They get scratches and dents. They get stickers and bumper stickers that are on the vehicle and everything, whether it's tinted or not. Any other identifying features that come into that particular picture that gets categorized with that license plate, and it becomes a license plate fingerprint. So if somebody changes the license plate out, their system will know it and they will know the car without the license plate. So yeah, it is very dangerous. And going back to that contract, they've carved themselves out access, and they don't have to tell the police what they're doing with that information. They have no right or responsibility to notify anybody about anything, but they will use it. And I can see them developing a database of gun users in Christian County and the Southwest Missouri area, because people drive up from Stone County, Taney County, they drive down from Greene County and Webster County to use that range. So it is a big deal because they're going to gather a lot of data, and it's specifically to people's Second Amendment rights right there for that particular camera.
Yeah, Commissioner, what do I know that you pay a lot of attention to our Constitution. So what about those amendments that Ron was talking about? What do you think? I mean, this is a serious
I,
issue, right?
I mean, it's a very serious issue, and I think that's exactly why it is becoming a problem, because you have a private company doing all of this, and Ron's 100% right. Those contracts actually say that all the information that they gather is owned by Flock Incorporated, Flock Safety Incorporated. So, and they say they only keep it for 30 days, but I don't know that I believe that. I'd say at a minimum, they take that data, they use it for what they want, and then they put it into another database, like Ron is alluding to. I guarantee you they're creating a list of the people that go to gun ranges and trying to put that information. And therein lies also a big part of the problem. Ron, you had mentioned earlier that if there is a warrant already out for somebody and finding murderers and kidnappers or whatever, yeah, that's true. It's called a hot list. They can put a particular license plate number into the camera system, and it will alert the law enforcement as that plate comes across various cameras. But they don't have to have a warrant for anything or even probable cause. They can get into the databases and they can look at whatever they want to. The individual down in Joplin tracked a particular license plate thousands of times all across the country. So they can track exactly where you're going, and not only this vehicle fingerprint, but I'd say they're putting together a fingerprint of your vehicle and those who have that vehicle going to the gun range and or churches. So to me, friends, it's just we've gone a step way beyond what we really should in America. And the next step that's going to happen, people might like the idea that law enforcement are using these to catch bad guys, but it is already happening to where they will take pictures of the front of your vehicle, and this is a little bit new, and they will be able to see if you have a seatbelt on. And if you don't have a seatbelt on, they'll send you a ticket in the mail. If you're talking on your phone here in Missouri while you're driving down the road and this camera picks it up, they can send you a ticket in the mail. So it's getting to, they're starting to use these for an awful lot of different things. One of them is revenue generation. They're already using it in New York. If you go into New York at a particular time of day, they're going to charge you X amount of money to go downtown because it's so congested. I think they do that not just to raise revenue, but they also want to maybe discourage you from going downtown during those times. but think how it is that they're going to send you a ticket in the mail. It's the automatic license plate reader. And I think one of the things we can maybe do, I notice nowadays if you go just about anywhere, like auction houses, I like to go to auction houses. They'll scan the back of your driver's license, and that'll pull up all of your information. Now, it doesn't give the data about your about different things, but why are we letting private businesses be able to do that? Why are we allowing Flock Camera to have access to the database of DMV records? So there's a lot of things that we need to look at here, and it's not going to get any better. There's already 90,000 cameras across the country at a minimum. That's the last number I heard. They're going to put more, and there's going to be more municipalities that want them. And it's not going to, and you could even maybe argue that your local folks being able to use these things could be a good thing. But think about the fact that the federal government has access to every camera in the country. Now, you mentioned guns. The owner of the Flock Corporation is a fairly progressive individual. He actually took access away from ICE and DHS so that they can't use those cameras to track illegals and whatnot. And you can say, well, okay, whatever. But just think about the implications of the fact that this private owner can turn off the information and turn it back on for causes that they feel are worthy to be used for. I think that is another element, a layer that a lot of people don't think about.
Well, and you know what? Obviously, China is our number one enemy in this world, and I hate to think about some company like Flock that is a progressive company, and I don't know how. I think they value money. I don't know if how much they value Americans and our Constitution and our freedoms and privacy. But I worry about some of the cameras that I've read about. They don't just do the license plate. They actually do the inside of a car. So if you're going to church, you got the dad driving, you got the mom in the front seat, and you got three kids in the back seat, and you can see all three of them, all five of them, in pictures that they're being taken. And I think that's a little bit more than we bargained for. And so I think it is a worry. And hopefully we can start getting in our state of Missouri and around. I mean, we got all 50 states watching this show right now. Somebody's watching it. You need to talk to your state representatives. You need to talk to your state senators. You need to talk to your local city councilmen and mayors, and we need to make sure that if they're going to do these, they do them in the correct manner and don't violate our Constitution and our privacies. And so
Well,
we
I
got to
think
do
therein
that.
lies a problem, Lynn. I don't know that there's a proper manner that they can be done in that they're not actually violating our constitutional rights.
Yeah, and
They're there
courts will
all day.
probably end up deciding that. Um,
Well,
so
I agree with that, but they're not because there have been cases that have been thrown out. And we all of us elected officials take an oath to the Constitution, and it's our
right.
responsibility to uphold that. And that's what we did here in Camden County. We restricted them. I took one down. Of course, I got charged with 3 crimes, and I'm not going to get into all that. It's all over with now. But I take my oath very, very seriously. And one of the ways they're getting around any kind of oversight is that, in Christian County, they had cameras that you didn't even know about because they didn't
That's
have to
right.
come to the
That's right.
commission to get a contract signed
Right.
because it's a memorandum of understanding. And I think they did you guys dirty, and I think our sheriff did us dirty. They put these things in without the approval of the commission and without the people even knowing it's happening. So, and if you'll notice, you mentioned there's these walking paths down at this park that you were talking about where the
Yeah,
shooting
Busey
range is.
Park. Hmm.
Right. So we saw just recently that Flock has moved into a different type of cameras that will be along walking paths, and they detect motion. They will then pick you up on that walking path. They're using AI and facial recognition technology, and they're making a database of the people that walk around there. And they are very, very hackable. As a matter of fact, I don't know the gentleman's name, but it's on YouTube. He actually hacked it, and Flock tried to say, no, you didn't. And he went out to the camera on the sidewalk that he hacked and showed them on his phone. Here's the information. You can see me now in this camera, and I have full access to it. So, my dear friends, I support law enforcement. I do, but I don't support an overreach that gets beyond the protections of the Constitution. And I believe that back during the time of the founding of this nation, if there was some government agent sitting on a street corner throughout Boston and on their way to Concord, and they were writing down what your horse looked like and what you looked like, and they were putting this into a database, those founders would have shot him in the face. So
Wow. Yeah.
I think we have a problem with these, and I think we need to wake up in America and get rid of them.
Okay, very good. Okay, we're going to do our third question here. It says, when a private company like Flock Safety stores and aggregates the data across jurisdictions, so this is interesting, across jurisdictions, who really controls the information about citizens' movements?
Well, that is one of the things that everybody should be concerned about, because now you have private companies that can do what they want because they're private companies. And then the government can go back to them and say, "Hey, can you put this together for me?" So now the private company gathered all the data, and then the government just comes back to them and says, "Well, I didn't collect the data." Um, in Missouri, I just found this out since our last meeting, and this might be new to Ike here. There is a state law from 2023 that limits the police forces from collecting the data past 30 days. So 30 days is a hard limit in state law for all of the ALPRs and everything. So that's
What
one thing that
statute
I
might that
discovered.
be?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but it surprised me that I found it even. But it
We'll
is
Yeah,
get it.
a
please
We'll
let me
get it.
know.
We'll get it. Yeah, we'll
yeah,
get it for you,
I'll
Ike.
get it for you.
Thank you.
But what makes everything so insidious is, even though Ike was right about, the flock, having access, what they do is they, in the contract, they say that the law enforcement agency owns the data. Okay. But Flock has access to the data and has rights to the data in perpetuity. And, for as long as the contract is written, it's it's irrevocable. So the police forces, the law enforcement agency that signed the contract, cannot revoke access to Flock. So technically, Flock can argue all day long, no, 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 we don't own that data. And the law enforcement agencies believe, hey, look, it says in the contract, we own the data. Flock doesn't own the data. But they forget about those two sections of the contract that say Flock has the rights to all of the metadata and all of the data to use as they see fit. And you can't take that access away from them. And it's unlimited until the end of the contract. And that's how they get around that. But it's an end around to government surveillance. We're going to let the private company surveil you, and then we're going to buy the information off of the private company, making the private company even richer, because we got a contract coming this way to install the cameras. And then once they aggregate all of the data, now we're going to have another contract to them saying, hey, give me these reports. And that's where the Second Amendment comes in and the First Amendment concerns come in, because now they're going to start building lists of all the Christians that are going to this church or that church. And then they're going to make lists of everybody who takes their firearms to Busick State Park and shoots. And the people going to use the walking trail, they're going to be included in that. So there may be some mistakes there. Hey, look, we saw them park down there. We have the license plate reader. Like that guy out in Colorado, he says, a lady with blonde hair, you have blonde hair. You stole that package, even though it wasn't true. Now you have hikers that are being thrown into the mix with all of the shooters, and those could be mistaken, for to be put on registers as well. So that makes it unsafe as far as um, accuracy goes, but it also puts innocent people, in the mix with what they would consider people of interest that go to the range with their guns and shoot,
Well,
you know?
Ron, one of the things that, and Ike, one of the things that I was reading about is there is some lawsuits now. Some citizens are fighting back. They just like Ron just said, they've been mistaken identity because of the flock cameras. So all of a sudden they've been accused of something. They've been arrested. Some have been arrested, charged, put in jail, and then come and find out they 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 weren't the person that the police thought they were. They made a mistake, but then they're wanting, and I would too if I was driving down the road and I got stopped and they mistaken my car and myself for somebody else. Um, I'd be pretty upset,
Yep.
and that's why you get an attorney, and you may want to sue someone. So what do you think, Ike, on that part of the
Well,
discussion?
well, it's fine that citizens can step forward and try to defend themselves and protect themselves. That's sad to me because now you've got to come up with a couple of $100,000 to sue your government because they violated your rights. We just recently had a case that's been going on here for, I don't know, 7 years because an individual's rights were the government violated his individual rights here in Camden County, and it didn't work out very good for him in the long run. Cost a lot of money, a lot of heartache, and again, his rights were violated. That goes back again to we take an oath to defend the Constitution. We as elected individuals should be sitting here and saying, no, that is a step beyond what we should be doing. And these cameras are so invasive. It bothers me that we are not, as elected officials, standing up against these even farther. And as far as law enforcement is concerned, they take that same oath. But you know what? I think they're more concerned with being able to try to find someone to arrest than they are protecting our First Amendment rights, our Second Amendment rights, all of our rights, Fourth Amendment rights. I've been watching an awful lot of these First Amendment audit videos online, and I highly encourage folks to go out and seek those and find out what our law enforcement is really doing across this country. Um, I just don't know. We're going way beyond where we should, and the public shouldn't have to come forward to defend themselves against the government. Those that they elect should stand up on their oath and defend those people as our job.
Yeah, I tell you what, for the folks that are watching this show today, I know you don't know Ike Skelton like I do. I see him at meetings every month up in Jefferson City at the Capitol and our association meetings. We both serve on the commission board, and I know that you are very outspoken. You believe in the Constitution. You want to support the Constitution, and so my question to you guys: so what is the flock camera's been going on for about 5 or 6 years now? Is that about the time? This is
No,
26. What they didn't they
it's
start
been
about
about
20?
9 years, 2017.
2017.
Yep.
Okay, well, so that's longer than I thought, but really that's still not a very long time. So look where we've come. I think maybe at the beginning, the creator of these things, I believe that maybe they were trying to do them only for law enforcement. This is my thought. But once they got started and they saw what they could do, I think they a lot of people, most people want to make more money. Companies want to make more money. And really think they were able to, with their technology and smart employees, they were able to probably diversify a lot more than they thought they ever were. I don't think so. I think if you had the original intent, and you stopped right there, I think we'd have been better off. So I think now when I look at it and I listen to you guys and I'm trying to read and research myself, I'm just thinking, okay, it's it's getting out of hand. So is it going to get more out of hand as this technology? And now they've got AI included in it. Before AI, I think AI, like I said, we're going to do a show or two on AI. I think people need to know about AI. I think it's can be good. but I think it can be really bad. So we need to know about these things, and I think I think this AI has increased the technology so much that it could be really bad for citizens too. And I know Jan and I have traveled all over the world, and we've been many places where there's cameras everywhere you go in this country and other countries, especially in other countries, but now it's becoming in our own country, where everywhere you go, you look up and there's a camera. And we don't want to be like China. We don't want to be like Cuba. We don't want to be like Brazil and some of even Argentina. I don't want to be like those places that I've been to because they know every move. They absolutely know every move that you make. And
They do,
this country, we don't want that.
and they do. And if I may, there's actually, I don't know who did the study, but all of these cameras and the flock and everything we're doing is a very chilling effect on people just being people. You wind up walking around on eggshells, wondering what you're going to say next. Is that going to be a problem? Because again, defending yourself in the court system in America is incredibly costly, and they're going to do what they have to do to get you if they can. And I mean, if you know you're being surveilled everywhere you go, I guarantee you act a little bit differently. You're not acting yourself. And that really dehumanizes us. Look at the people in those countries such as China and North Korea. They're automatons.
Mhm.
They have to be concerned about every single little step that they make. Florida right now has a bill that they have might have already passed one chamber, but they are considering that will put a unit together within their law enforcement communities, and they will start looking at patterns of how people operate, things that you go do, where you go do, who you associate with. Now they're trying to say that they're going to tie that into a terrorism, but they're just calling it folks that are acting against the state. Well, I talk out about state and federal government a lot, and we should be able to. As a matter of fact, if we cannot openly communicate with our disagreements with our government and call them vile names if we want to, I don't, but we have the ability and the freedom to do that. And if we can't do that anymore, I dare say we're not much of the free country that we have been. And this is happening in the free state of Florida. So, as a matter of fact, Missouri has an anti-Semitic speech law that they are considering right now that they're going to try to get into our school system. So, we need to be very, very vigilant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very.
Ike, I talk to the NSA every single day.
So we're going to kind of run out of time here pretty soon, but this has been fascinating, and I hope our viewers have enjoyed this. But just kind of give us a brief summary, Commissioner, of what's going on in Camden County. You've been aggressive, and I appreciate that. And you a lot of people watch to see what you're doing. And so, what is going on in Camden County as far as the flock cameras?
Well, we certainly did vote to prohibit them in the county, and when no one in law enforcement would enforce our ordinance, I did. I was charged with 2 felonies and a misdemeanor, and this is where it comes into the amount of money that you have to defend yourself. I pled guilty to a misdemeanor of disrupting a government operation, and I will wear that badge with honor. I'm going to continue to research them and go around the state and educate people about them. I would like to get some legislation going on in Jefferson City to prohibit them. I asked our commission to take up and potentially file a lawsuit against the Department of Public Safety. They declined to do that because of the cost, I guess, the time. But I can't find anything in any Missouri law that actually authorizes these things on our roads. And I'm researching that right now, and we'll do things a little bit farther as we go along. But yeah, I'm not going to let these go. I'm going to continue to watch on them. And again, I think if we can get more people educated as to what they're about, then we can start getting the people riled up. And, I have found in all of my years in activism and at the state capitol, you get enough people together, and they do eventually start listening.
Yeah, and that's what people need to pay attention. We've got an election coming up next week in Missouri,
Yeah.
and people need to go out and vote. You need to study the issues. You need to listen to both sides. You've got a mind. You can think. The sad thing is this April election is extremely important because it's school board, it's city council, it's the mayors. It's all local people, and you've got more influence. Every citizen in this country has more influence on local people, local elections than you do federal elections. We need to pay attention to federal and state, but right now it's local, and you need to pay attention and vote next week. And it's extremely important. So you guys actually in the commission voted to remove the flock cameras in Camden County, and then they they didn't get done, did they?
Yeah, yeah, we voted to prohibit them in all of Camden County. Now I know we don't have any real jurisdiction over the municipalities, and this was on a state road on Highway
Mm-hmm.
54, and
Mm-hmm.
folks said we didn't have authority there, and maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I took it down anyway because
Yeah.
I think they needed to come down. We passed the ordinance. It was my opinion I was enforcing our ordinance. But if you brought up about local elections, they are critical, maybe even more critical than the people in Washington D.C.
Oh, I think
because
so.
it's the people down at the local level that sign those contracts to make things happen. It's the people at the local level that are spending all of your tax dollars that are going on in grants, and that's the people at the local level that are implementing all of the various things that our state government and federal government want us to implement. So you're right, Lynn. Local elections are critical.
And Commissioner, let me ask you this because this is what I see. In the 6 years I've been in county government, I see and this is life. This is life. This is everything going on. I believe that the number one problem in our country and probably the world is communication. So here I am, and you are the presiding commissioner. You're at the top of the group, all these elected officials, we're all elected, so we're not each other's boss. But I would think that I would know when a sheriff has signed a contract or is doing something. I would think that I would know when the collector's doing something that's major. I would think that I would know and that you would know, and the other commissioners, the associate commissioners would know. But I have found out over and over and over again my last 6 years, and I'm there every day. I'm there every day. So I'm watching and listening, and I go out and see things. But guess what? I don't know half of what's going on because they don't communicate it to us. And I
That's
can't
right.
really make them communicate it to me, but I'll call them in and we'll visit one on one. And still yet, sometimes we're improving, and other times I'm sitting here and thinking, it's not much better. Communication's the key of everything, whether it be a marriage, a business, government. Government is business, and I don't know. I mean, do you agree that you're not getting communicated with every day?
Oh, I agree 100%. And not only that, once you fulfill a budget request and say, okay, here's your $50,000 to go do this sort, buy equipment. Let's say, well, you don't have any control over what equipment they're buying, so you don't know what they're buying next.
Right.
And you're right; they will enter into various contracts and memorandums of understanding. Right now are a very big problem because they're a gray area when it comes to contractual.
Right.
There is
Right.
state statute for contracts. Only the presiding commissioner can sign a contract, really. But these MOUs are very vague, and that's what they're using to implement flock cameras across.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to talk about our sponsors, and then we're going to give both of you guys the last word, and I'll talk about next week's program. So, Brad Pistow is our first sponsor, certified fiduciary financial planner, located right in Ozark, Missouri. I hope you have a pencil and paper because I'm going to give you his telephone number that is extremely important. That phone number is 417 581 9222. 417 581 9222. Now, he's licensed in 18 states. I know there's more states in this country, but he has associates, people that he knows in all 50 states. And so he can recommend someone that can help you no matter where you live. He is considered one of the best financial retirement advisors in the entire country. I actually use him. A lot of my friends use him. And he has two books that are outstanding books, and he gives those books out free. So you want to be able to call him. And the first book is Safe Money Matters. The second one is Bulletproof. They're both #1 best-selling books on Amazon for retirement. He invests retirement and planning investments. His son is also an investment specialist. He has security license, all kinds of things that he can help you with if you want to continue to invest in the stock market and other sources. So gold, silver, things that I believe in, that he believes in. So you can get that help. They also have a lady there that is a Medicare specialist, and so I highly recommend this guy. Not only has he secured my retirement, I will never run out of life before I run out of money. Never. And not only will I always have money for my wife and I on retirement planning, I also will leave money for my kids. He has got us secured, and that's what you need. That's what you need. And he also has made me money every year on investments. So this is the guy you want to deal with, Brad Pistow. He contributes to Wall Street Journal. He contributes to USA Today. He's all over and speaking all over the country, helping other people. So Brad Pistow. The other company that we are very fond of and we really appreciate is Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. My last car was bought on Labor Day of last year, and it was a Kia Sorento. My three cars prior to that were Jeeps, and I bought Grand Cherokee Jeeps, top of the line Summits from these guys. They can find you a car that has 10,000 miles on it, and that's what I usually buy. I buy a car that's a little bit used, just very slightly used, saves me money. And these guys have Nissans and Kias now that just are really great cars. They've got great programming, great plans, finance plans, and then they sell used cars. They're located at 3838 South Campbell. New cars on one side of South Campbell in Springfield, Missouri, and then used cars on the other side. And the used cars, they have a lot of cars that are actually certified cars. I would highly recommend if you want to buy a used car. Aaron Swanson is going to be on our show in about 4 weeks. He's the general manager, and I would tell you that if you could afford to buy a car that's been certified, they're going to go down the road many more miles because there's no surprises. They've checked everything out, and I highly recommend these guys. Both of our sponsors are going to be on our show in May, and so we usually have them on twice a year, so it's time to have them on. You listeners are going to appreciate it. These guys can save you money and help you make money, and so we're going to put those on there. So. Um, anyway, let's. What's your last word, Ike? What do you want to leave? What do you want to leave the listeners with?
Be vigilant of what's going on. Do some research. Look into these flock camera systems and take your emotions away from it, because what the advocates will say is, well, if your daughter was kidnapped or if your son was murdered, you'd want to know. And of course, all of those things are true. But the reality is, the amount of data that is being collected in comparison to the good that it really does us, I believe that it is doing us more harm than it is good. So I would encourage you to make sure that your mayors and your city councils don't want anything to do with flock. Thank
Yeah,
you. And I
yeah,
appreciate you really having me on.
yeah, very good, very good. And Ron?
Yeah. A wise man once said, if you trade your liberty for safety, you have neither. And that goes to the core of what liberty is all about. When you compare how people live in the United States to how they live in other nations, that do have surveillance, that do have more insidious laws, you can see the vast contrast between liberty and people who live in liberty and people who don't have it. And that goes back to what Ike said about their behaviors. You change your behavior when somebody's watching you. You ever watch that TV show called Big Brother,
Hmm.
where everybody's living in the house under the cameras? They're not living the way that they would normally live. They are completely, their personalities change, their behaviors change. The cortisol in your body changes. The level of cortisol, how the different chemicals
Hmm.
interact in your body change whenever you are in a fearful moment. And being under surveillance causes you to constantly be in a state of fear.
Hmm.
And then it becomes normalized to where it's no longer liberty, and it is no longer uh, you're less human, like he said. And from a standpoint, I was in Berlin when the wall fell. And after the wall fell, I got to meet a lot of people who lived on the other side of that wall. And I got to see it in their eyes. I got to see it in their mannerisms. I got to experience it as I got to know them as people. And it is horrifying what they lived their whole lives. And we're going in that direction. And me talking about this, nobody will ever hear my story about what I've lived because the experts have overrun everybody's experience, and it's shameful. But yes, be vigilant. Start exercising your liberties while you still have them.
Very good, guys. Okay, so next week, folks, we have a great show lined up on April the 1st, Wednesday. Dr. Paul Collins. He is an outstanding man. He is the founder of Acts Ministry. He is just amazing at his age what he knows and communicate. He is still preaching every Sunday at a church in Branson, Missouri. And he's going to talk to us about the resurrected Lord, our Christ, who was actually killed for no reason other than the fact that they wanted to kill him, and God brought him back to life 3 days after, and then he. I'm just telling you right now, between
Amen.
all the things that you all heard today about what's going on in this world and our country, it's time. If you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, it's time. It's time right now to do that. And next Wednesday, Dr. Paul Collins is going to give us a message about the importance of Easter, the most important event in Christianity next week. So we're going to do that. And I appreciate, I learned a lot today from these two gentlemen. I hope that you all did too. Last thing, just remember, I hope you can write this down 4321, 4321 ACTS, ACTS at gmail.com. Love to have your comments. Love to have what you thought about the show today, what you'd like to hear in the future. We'd love to have you as a partner with us in Acts Ministry. 4321 ACTS, ACTS at gmail.com. God bless. We'll be back next week. Thank you.
You're